you haven't already, please visit winlarry.com. Do that right away to enter one of my biggest giveaways of the year, an all-access subscription to the Epoch Times. You heard it right. Many of you have been asking for this, so if you haven't subscribed to the Epoch Times already, and you should, go to winlarry.com right now and join my giveaway. This is the last day to join my giveaway, and you do not want to miss this chance. Not only do you get digital access to all Epoch Times content, including my full show on Epoch TV, you'll also get weekly newspapers delivered right to your door. I promise this is going to be one of the best gifts you'll ever get this year. If you want honest, accurate news, if you want truth and tradition delivered right to your door, if you want to see more content that brightens up your day, what are you waiting for? Just go to winlarry.com right now. I will announce 3 lucky winners live on my show on December 23rd. Do not wait. Go to winlarry.com right now. That's winlarry.com right now. Well, to the surprise of virtually no one, the 7 Democrats and the 2 hand-picked Republicans by the Democrats unanimously suggested that Donald Trump should be charged criminally by the DOJ.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Cheney?
Aye.
Ms. Cheney, aye. Ms. Lofgren?
Aye.
Ms. Lofgren, aye. Mr. Schiff?
Aye.
Mr. Schiff, aye. Mr. Aguilar?
Aye.
Mr. Aguilar, aye. Mrs. Murphy?
Aye.
Mrs. Murphy, aye. Mr. Raskin?
Aye.
Mr. Raskin, aye. Mrs. Luria?
Aye.
Mrs. Luria, aye. Mr. Kinzinger?
Kinzinger, aye.
Mr. Kinzinger, aye.
How is the chair recorded?
Mr. Chairman, you are not recorded.
Chair votes aye.
Mr. Chairman, aye.
The clerk will report the vote.
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, there are 9 ayes and 0 noes.
Not a whole lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion there. Meanwhile, over at CNN, they could hardly suppress their glee.
Just about the top of the hour, special edition of 360 at the end of a remarkable day.
Unbelievably remarkable, because there has actually never, as in Jake, never ever been a day like this in this country's nearly 250-year history. The House committee making 4 criminal referrals against a former president. You've got obstructing an official proceeding. You've got defrauding the United States, making false statements. And one of the most serious charges there is against anyone, let alone a former president of the United States, aiding or assisting an insurrection.
Now, one of the most outspoken members of the January 6th committee is Representative Jamie Raskin.
And here, any one of those 3 prongs would constitute violation of the statute. But I think that Donald Trump is actually culpable for all 3 of them. He clearly incited insurrection when he told the crowd, you got to fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. And a series of other very explosive incendiary remarks like that. He assisted them at 2:42 p.m. on January 6th when he knew that the riot had overtaken the Capitol, driven us out of the House and the Senate chambers, driven the vice president out. And instead of using his powers as president to try to get in touch with law enforcement or the military to shut it down, what he did instead was send out a tweet which said, Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what needed to be done. In other words, he added fuel to the fire right there. He gave further sustenance to the riot and to the insurrection, but also he gave aid and comfort all along that day. And
I got a headache. Now, Trump also said, I want you to peacefully make your voices heard. There were 800 people who were arrested that day and charged. Virtually all of them were charged with misdemeanors. Even the conviction of the head of the Oath Keepers was never charged with insurrection. He was charged with sedition, which is planning, but insurrection is the actual act. He was not even charged with insurrection. None of them have been charged with insurrection. Do you know that Mr. Raskin himself is an election denier?
the court has been thwarting formation of the popular will, the most spectacular example being Bush versus Gore, where the majority, by a 5-4 vote, enjoined the counting of more than 100,000 ballots in Florida and essentially gave America its first court-appointed president.
That was the first week of January 2005, After George W. Bush got reelected, Jamie Raskin joined 30 other of his House colleagues, joined by Senator Barbara Boxer with the approval of Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton from New York, to overturn the result in Ohio, claiming, among other things, that the Diebold election machine had been tampered with. No evidence whatsoever that the Diebold voting machine had been tampered with. One of those others who joined, none other than the January 6th committee chairman, Benny Thompson. That makes him another election denier, doesn't it? What's that? The great Oldersky has to his right a pair of my slippers from MyPillow. I most certainly do, but I bet you don't. But you know what? You can remedy that by calling the number on the screen or going to mypillow.com. Use promo code Larry. They've got over 100 products, including the MyPillow My Slippers, in different colors, even different styles. I kid you not. And then, of course, we have the MyPillow, or is that redundant? They also come in different sizes. Again, call the number on your screen. You want the best sleep of your life? Call the number on your screen or go to mypillow.com and be sure to use promo code ELDER. What's that? I've got more. This is the Giza 6-pack, towel, hand cloth, and face cloth. Also, they come in different colors. Mine is white because, after all, I am the black face of white supremacy. But you're not. Call the number on your screen. Did I mention they got over 100 products? And of course, here is the Giza Dream bedsheet. Remember, Giza is in Egypt. Bolas has told me that. Bolas is on my staff. I was saying, these are the best cotton near an area near Egypt. And he goes, no. Giza is in Egypt, as is the cotton. Again, mine is white because, after all, I'm the black face of white supremacy, not the white face of black supremacy. The white face of black supremacy would be wrong. I am the black face of white supremacy. So call the number on your screen or go to mypillow.com. Use promo code Larry. Different colors, different sizes, because beds come in different sizes. Frankly, they come in different colors too. Call the number on your screen. mypillow.com. Promo code ELDER. Devin Nunes, the former chair of the House Intel Committee, has accused the FBI of spying on his staff as they were investigating the FBI's handling of the bogus Russia collusion case. Nunes said, "I think they were probably spying on quite a few of my staff. The only reason they would possibly be doing that," he said, "is because we caught the DOJ and the FBI coordinating with the Democratic Party in 2016 in order to spy on the Trump campaign and on the Republican Party."
If there was ever a moment that your investigation was at its most sensitive, it's right when these subpoenas drop. Why do you think they targeted that time?
Well, look, the timing is suspicious because we pretty much put together in September and October of 2017 that they had used the Clinton and DNC paid for dirt that they helped to supposedly fake a fake corroboration that they then supplied to the FISA court.
You can't make this up.
So my guess is we were trying to put that out in the late fall, early winter of 2017. I think at that point, DOJ and FBI don't realize that we know this. And so we got delayed. We ended up not putting this out until February of 2018. But that was right in that time frame. So they would have had a clear insight into what we were thinking, what our team was thinking, what our team was doing, who we were talking to, as we began to put together the documents that ultimately we made public to the American people, which we had.
So spying on the Trump campaign and spying on the House committee investigating the bogus FBI collusion Donald Trump investigation.
We had to take an unprecedented step and use a tool that the Congress has never used before, and that was to make so-called, and I say so-called, classified information, because they always deem things classified that they don't want out in the public. It was nothing that was going to harm the national security. Nobody was going to die, even though at the time you had the top people at the Department of Justice and the FBI lie during that time frame to say that, oh my gosh, this is going to really jeopardize national security, all the while they knew they were just in on the cover up. And look, ultimately, we made 14 criminal referrals. Those went to Durham. We have seen Durham struggle by trying to bring cases in the Washington, D.C. area where people have been acquitted. He has yet to bring any charges against the FBI or the Department of Justice officials, which I think sounds fishy, because clearly what Durham has laid out is a great case against these officials. And here you have another piece of what I would say very important information about lying and misleading Congress, and in this case, really attempting to obstruct our investigation by turning their spying capabilities onto me, the very one who was busting them for the illegal surveillance that they were engaged in.
Unbelievable. And this brings us to Joe Biden. To quote Ronald Reagan, there you go again.
It was the fifth time I was in South Africa trying to see Nelson Mandela anyway, long story. I came home.
Was he still imprisoned at that point? Understood.
Note Drew Barrymore, just to make sure, even followed up with was he still in prison at that point? Which shows she's a tougher journalist than your typical journalist over at CNN or at MSNBC.
Was he still imprisoned at that point? Understood.
He's still in prison at that point. Understood. Now, Biden has been telling this story for a long time. Again, it's a manipulation of blacks, telling blacks how much he cares to make sure he gets that black social justice monolithic vote because he is a social justice warrior for black people.
He's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
As I said, Joe is down with the brothers.
This day, 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison and entered into discussions about apartheid. I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto trying to get to see him on Robbins Island.
I had the great honor of getting arrested trying to see Nelson Mandela when he was arrested during apartheid Africa. Like I said, he's been saying this for a long time.
I spent my whole life fighting for civil rights, voting rights, social justice, economic justice. And that's what I'll do when I'm your president. This day, 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison and entered into discussions about apartheid. I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto trying to get to see him on Robbins Island. When he came to the United States, when he came to the White House, to the Senate, I was chairman of the committee, and he walked in, and most incredible thing I've ever felt in my life. He walked across in that private room with the big table we have in the executive room, and he walked over, and I said, Mr. President, he leaned, I said, thank you. Thank you for trying to come and see me.
Arrested on the streets of Soweto near Robbins Island. He visited me when I was in the Senate and said, thank you for trying to visit me when I was in jail. So is any of this true?
Joe Biden's 2020 campaign has admitted the former vice president was not arrested for trying to visit Nelson Mandela at the South African prison during apartheid after the Democratic candidate used the claim at least 3 times during appearances in recent weeks. In campaign visits to Nevada and South Carolina, Mr. Biden claimed he was arrested with the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations in Soweto, despite there being no publicly available evidence of the incident. It is also unclear why Mr. Biden would have been arrested in Soweto for trying to visit Mandela, as the city is hundreds of miles away from the island where the anti-apartheid activist was imprisoned. He took a trip with a congressional delegation in the 70s. This is their excuse. He was separated from the Congressional Black Caucus members he was traveling with at the airport when he landed. Kate Bedingfield, Mr. Biden's communications director, told reporters on Wednesday. When making that remark, he was talking about his long record fighting apartheid. He was one of the leading voices in the United States Senate in the 80s. However, Ms. Bedingfield could not justify Mr. Biden's use of the word arrest or a coda he added to the story in which Mandela personally thanked him over the incident.
The question is, Frau Helm, were you lying then? Are you lying now? Or are you not, in fact, a chronic and habitual liar?
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. This has been The Larry Elder Show. And remember, we've got a country to save. See you next time.